Hello everybody, Thomas Fleming here. Well, today we're going to do kind of a simple message. I'm recording this on my moving day, so I don't have to do a whole lot for you right now. I got to worry about packing up. And we just had a storm, so it's going to be a little cleanup first, and we can get out of here. So the theme is, are you ready? You got your bags packed, got all your prescriptions in hand, you ready to go, you ready to take a trip? Okay, I'm being sarcastic, but the bottom line is, we're going to be gone in an instant. Not everybody is going. The people you're leaving behind are going to be strapped. You may want to make arrangements if you've got family members that are not going to get to go in this rapture. Maybe they're going to need money, they're going to need other resources. Whatever they're going to need, you need to make sure that you take care of them. And I'm going to go over some of that. Okay, hang on, I'll be back. Okay, let's get into our study here. Now, I'm not going to give you financial advice or legal counsel or any of that kind of legal jargon that you can then throw back at me if I'm giving you something that you don't like. So I'm giving you what I would do, my opinion of what I would do in my case, and you can take it or leave it. Okay, so we're going to be gone like that, blink of an eye. Do you think you have enough time between blinks to set your affairs in order down here on earth? No, you don't. Nobody does. So you got to make provisions for people. Think about who, if you knew you were dying, human dying, you'd have a will, you'd do everything you could, you'd transfer things ahead of time. I'm not telling anybody to do that. But I have stuff in storage, and I have told people that I trust where stuff is and how to get to it if they need it. But I thoroughly trust them, or I wouldn't do that. And there are people that are on the list that can get into this stuff. So I'm not worried about it. But I'm not telling you to do anything. That's just what I have done. Now, fortunately, my immediate family, they're Christians. My older family have all gone on. So I really only have immediate family Christians to deal with. Now, I have some friends that I've told about some of this stuff, but I haven't told them about all the details of Christ because they don't want to listen. But I have told them that I have some provisions put away that they're welcome to help themselves to if for some reason I'm gone and they need some. Okay, so do what you can to think about those left behind. Now, I'm just going to do a recap of our rapture verses just so you've got those. You want to put these around where people are going to find them when we're gone so that we'll remind them. And yes, it's coming from the Bible, and they're going to have to look at it. I told you when you were, setting up your provisions, your storage areas for extra food when you're prepping. Don't prep for a long time. But when you're prepping, prep for long enough for you and whoever else might be around when you're gone. And when you're at it, put tracks amongst the food so they have to see where it came from. So we're just going to kind of go over our rapture verses. Matthew does not talk about the rapture in the Olivet Discourse. He's talking about his second coming. He's talking to Jews. They don't care about a rapture. They're not even concerned about a rapture. They don't even have it studied any place. The rapture is strictly a Gentile or a Christian phenomenon. The Jews have their own belief, and their belief is that Christ will come back, Christos, Messiah, will come back as the king, as the roaring lion, and rule over those that are trying to rule over him now. They wanted Rome kicked out and God to come in. They had no idea about a rapture, so he wasn't talking to them about it. Paul, on the other hand, is talking to Gentiles, predominantly, but he does talk to the Jews occasionally too. But they don't care. The Jews don't care about a rapture. They don't need to be saved. They're told that they're going to stay on earth and rule and reign with the Messiah. That's all they're interested in. Okay, well, I like to look at the Revelation 12 sign. It's the big sign that I like. And we've already had the sign in the stars. So join with me in Revelation 12. Now a great sign appeared in the heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and with the moon under her feet. A constellation of a woman clothed with the sun up above, lighting down, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. Well, there aren't 12 stars over her head normally, but when you align the planets, you get 12. Then, being with child, Jupiter was in the belly, in retrograde, and stayed there for a while. She cried out in labor pains to give birth. Okay, we've already had that. That's been 5 years ago. We're waiting for the next set of phases. But again, these chapters, as they put them together, the seals are a vision, the trumpets are a vision. This is a vision. This whole chapter 12 is a vision, and it encompasses a period of time. They're not right after each other. They're when they're supposed to happen. So the next sign, and another sign appeared in the heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns. That's the harlot with the beast riding on her. The 7 heads is the harlot, 7 areas of domination or rule, and the 10 kings, 10 countries represented there by the beast. And 7 diadems on their heads, so they got crowns. So these are leaders. His tail, Satan's, drew 1/3 of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born. Satan's been trying this from day one. And she bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. If you read further on and we see how Jesus comes back to rule the millennium, he's going to rule with the rod of iron. But we're coming back with him to rule the same way. So we got to go up first so we can come back down with him. And her child was caught up to God and his throne. Everybody's starting to get back from their boat trips and leave. I'm just over in the park next to them. So that's the basic story that we're waiting for. Satan coming to earth with 1/3 of his dragons, or 1/3 of his angels, or 1/3 of the stars of heaven. His tail drew 1/3 of the stars of heaven and threw them to earth. We haven't seen that, but we're looking for it. And then we're going to have the rapture. And the word is harpazo, which is Greek for caught up. And if you take that word and translate it into Latin, in the Latin Vulgate, the word is rapturo, and we shorten that, anglify it, if you will, to rapture. That's where the rapture word comes from. It is in the Bible, but it's only in the Latin Bible. Okay, now we are going to turn to 1 Thessalonians. These are all of our standard rapture verses, just to remind you where they're at. 1 Thessalonians 4:17. But I'm going to start back in 13. But I do know, this is Paul writing to the Thessalonians the first time. I do not want you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning those who have fallen asleep, lest you sorrow for the others who have no hope. People have been dying for centuries, waiting for this particular moment in time. For if you believe Jesus died and rose again, even so God will bring with him those who sleep in Jesus. For we say to you by the word of the Lord, that we who are alive and remain until the coming of the Lord will by no means precede those who are asleep. For the Lord himself would ascend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive and remain shall be caught up together. That's the word harpazo again, and it means caught up, snatched away, if you want, together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and thus we shall always be with the Lord. Therefore, comfort one another with these words. I'm also going to go back and bring in another verse that I don't always include, so I made sure I put a note down to go to it, and that's 1 Corinthians 15. The little gnats are out. There's no mosquitoes. This cold air killed them all off. Yay. Okay. I'm in 1 Corinthians 15:50. I'm going to start there. Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, nor does corruption inherit incorruption. Behold, I tell you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall be changed in the moment, in the, turn the page, twinkling of an eye. At the last trump, that's why we've been watching, Feast of Trumpets and all this stuff. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruptible, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when the corruptible is put on incorruption, and the mortal has put on immortality, then shall he brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is thy sting? O Hades, where is thy victory? But going back, you can see where we are changed. That's basically so that we can go to heaven. Okay? Some may argue against that. That's why I don't always include it. But I want you to see now here, 2 Thessalonians 3:13, near the end of the chapter. But as for you, brethren, do not grow weary in doing good. This is important. It gets tiring waiting. Do not grow weary in doing good. And if anyone does not obey our word in this epistle, note that person and do not keep company with him, that he may be ashamed. Yet do not count him an enemy, but admonish him as a brother. We're to treat all people with kindness, but especially other Christians. People are going to be taught all kinds of things. False teachings. A lot of this stuff is very straightforward. But there's a lot of it that's not revealed to everybody. I've got gnats flying around me. Duck, here they come again. I know it gets tough waiting. I know that we're spending all of our time looking at the things going on in the world, wondering what's the trigger point? Where are we going to go from here? We've been looking at high watch periods all through the holidays, and we're still here. But the world's not ready yet. We're not really suffering. Now, there are people that are going to be suffering all the time, day in and day out, that have nothing to do with the rapture or the timing or anything like that. They have a physical problem, and I would love to pray for you, so if you have those conditions, let me know. If you've already given me your name with the prayer request, it's got a new year, so go ahead and re-enter it so we can keep praying for you. Whether God will take the pain from you or the ailment from you, I don't know. Paul tried to do that, and Paul found out that God said, my grace is sufficient for you. I don't like that answer, but I know Paul didn't, but he had to live with it. Some of us have to live with our problems. I'm not 100% myself, but I get around, and that's the key. I'm doing this as long as I can. Now, my knee's a little sore from my long hike today, but that goes with the territory. My knee that I had replaced, it's doing fine. The knee that needs to be replaced is not, but I'll be fine. Tonight and tomorrow morning, I think we're supposed to get some rain, so I may not be able to immediately respond to any of your comments. There's very little signal, any of the campsites here. The only place to get signal is to come up here to the visitor station, which is over there. So, yeah, you can kind of see it, the other side of the trees. But in order to do that, I have to get out of my tent, go to my car, and drive down here or walk. And if it's going to be a big storm, which it looks like it is, I'm probably going to be locked in for a little while. I'll be dry. The tent's dry. I don't have any problem with water coming in. I have a tarp partially over it that I use to block the wind more than the rain when we had our 19-degree weather with the wind blowing at 20 miles an hour. So I put a tarp up just to block the wind. But it covers the tent in doing so, and it'll help keep any rain out of that side. All right. I'm anxious to go. We all are. When are we going to go? I wish I could tell you. I'm just looking at the world, and I can see that the world is getting very, very close to its next phase. The Antichrist is ready. He's here now, someplace working behind the scenes. Hitler wasn't a baby when he took over. He worked for a long time. Gnats fly into your eyes. It's like, can't you see I got an eyeball in there? But we knew nothing about him until he got the demon taken over him. Satan was preparing him, but he wasn't ready to be revealed, and the Antichrist is doing the same thing. He's not going to be unknown to the people in power when it's time to do his thing. And we're told, that there's going to be one king that dies and another one comes back. So he will probably be killed, but we need the two witnesses. The two witnesses are crucial to this time. They've got to get in and start really pissing off the side that controls the Temple Mount. God should control it. The Jews should control it, and it's not being controlled that way. The two witnesses are going to demand it, and the world is going to hate them because they're going to allow drought and all kinds of things to affect the world. Who are the two witnesses? Elijah, Moses, Enoch. Take your pick. May not be any of them, but it's likely, looking at the transfiguration time, we see who people God uses get used a lot. So we need the two witnesses. That's a real big key. They're ready to build the temple now, but they can't. The two witnesses are going to help create the turmoil. They kill the Antichrist. The Antichrist will be raised from the dead and kill the two witnesses. And then here come in and bring the peace that allows them to build the temple. They're ready to go. That can happen anytime. Magog could attack Israel anytime. Is that Russia? They're a high candidate for it. All the players are here. Like I said, the Antichrist is here. The false prophet is here somewhere. If it's not the Pope, he's vying for the position because he's not following his own scriptures, which is sad. So, we're almost ready. But we've been almost ready since we saw the Revelation 12 sign. And that's 5 years or so, a little over. Do we have 2 more years left? Is that what this talks about? But 2 more years left of what? If it's going to be 7 years from the Revelation 12 sign, what would be at the 7th year point? Would that be the start of the tribulation? I don't want to wait 2 more years, but it's possible. We don't know. We don't know the start. So stay vigilant, but be ready, because it's going to come in an instant, in a twinkling in an eye, and you're not going to be ready unless you're ready now. So do whatever you need to do. Create a will if you need one. If you've got family members that you know are not going to make it, leave a will for them. Now, in some states, they take a lot of your possessions and money and stuff when you do probate, or if they have probate or not. Every state's somewhat different. If stuff is in a storage unit, give them access. These gnats are they're excited to be out too in this weather. We actually got, I think, to 75 today. But do what you can to make things comfortable for them, but we make sure that you've planted seeds. If you haven't planted seeds, don't give them anything. They're on their own. But if you've planted seeds, or somebody has planted seeds, and they're just rejecting it, or they're not sure yet, or they give you let's talk about this later a bit, then help them out. They're going to have to survive into this far enough to make the right decision. Are we to feed the world? No. I'm talking about your immediate family and friends that you know are not Christian. Make provisions for them. The key most is talk to them about Jesus, but then once you've done that and they're still not quite ready, but they're still good people, think about what's going to be left behind. The world's going to be in a really bad shape. Now, don't go give all your stuff away right now. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not giving you financial advice. But make provisions so that they can have access once you're gone. If you got a lawyer to help draw this stuff up, that would be nice. There may be stuff out there on the internet. Look up rapture wills and see what you can find. You want some kind of a provision that says, if you're gone and nobody can find you for 6 months, we're not going to have a death. If they got to wait for you to die, that can take a few years. You need a provision that gives them legal access if you cannot be contacted. I don't know how to write the legalese. I'm not advising you to write the legalese. Get somebody who can, and there may be stuff online for that. I say it's very, very close. It's got to be, one more day left in the year. Yeah, God could still squeeze it in, but I think it's next year. The digital currency will be early on in the year. Anytime between now and March. It's working. They're testing it between banks. It works. They're going to switch it to us. But they got to it's dominoes. When they start this, they can't stop it. So they got to make sure everything's in place. And the people that are doing this probably have no clue that they're getting ready to set off this big domino effect. Only Satan knows that. And God. They're just going about their normal business of thinking they know how to rule this world better than God does. Sounds like Satan, doesn't it? All right. Stay calm. Stay diligent. Don't give up. It's coming. We just don't know when. That's all. There's no doubt it's coming. Till we meet in the clouds. Soon, I hope. God. This is a cool little public area that they have. Looking back, you got a restroom there, pavilion, and a play area for the kids. And I've seen them over on that. There's big parking lots for the fishermen. They can have their boats behind, or the RVs that you see over there. You can go out paddling in your own boats, or you can rent boats here. Another nice pavilion. There's a little bait shack over there, not bait shack, but cleaning station as it's called. You catch some fish out there, you can clean them in there. Now you're only going to want to keep the crappie and the perch There are some catfish, and there's another bottom fish. I forget what it's called, but it's not very nice to eat, so you can catch them and throw them back. It's getting towards the end of the day. I'm going to hop over there and see how my video's been doing. The clouds are starting to build up now. The big clouds will be here tonight sometime. And these gnats are annoying. They're not biting, they're just annoying. So I'm going to go ahead and get inside. See you on the next video.